The story begins with Gabimaru, an assassin, bound and awaiting execution. Despite several attempts to kill him, he miraculously survives each one. His ability to withstand death leaves everyone in shock. Sagiri, a skilled executioner from the Yamada clan, interviews Gabimaru, seeking to understand his past. Gabimaru reveals that he was raised in the village of Iwagakure, where only the strongest survive. He dismisses the earlier executioners, saying they were too weak and he didn't even use his secret ninjutsu technique. As the days pass and more execution attempts fail, Sagiri becomes suspicious of Gabimaru because he claims to be indifferent about dying, but she senses otherwise. Eventually, Gabimaru opens up about his wife, the daughter of the village chief. Her kindness frustrated him, and he once tried to escape the village, which led to this death sentence. She confronts Gabimaru that unlike his claims, he wants to live, and Gabimaru realizes how he loves his wife, and she is the reason he wants to change. Sagiri offers him a deal that if he retrieves the elixir of life from the dangerous island of Shinsenkyo, he will be pardoned. Motivated by the chance to reunite with his wife, Gabimaru agrees to the mission. They soon arrive at Edo, where condemned criminals including Gabimaru meet the lord of that land, who gives them the mission to retrieve the elixir of life from Shinsenkyo Island. They learn that previous expeditions resulted in soldiers either disappearing or returning transformed into flower-covered corpses. The criminals learn they'll be monitored by Yamada clan executioners, who will kill them if they misbehave. They are then told that due to limited resources, they only have room for a few criminals, which initiates a killing spree among the prisoners. While others fight, Gabimaru remains calm. Meanwhile, Sagiri discusses her role with a man named Aizen, who questions her ability to kill. Through flashbacks, we learn Sagiri followed her father's path as an executioner in the Yamada clan. She tries to prove her capability by executing a criminal who attempts to steal her sword, but struggles to do it. Gabimaru is forced to defend himself when a criminal attacks him, and despite his earlier peaceful stance, Gabimaru brutally eliminates multiple criminals, shocking everyone with his deadly skills. The fight ends, and 10 criminals are selected for the expedition, and the group departs for Shinsenkyo by boat. Upon reaching the island, Gabimaru asks Sagiri to untie his hands, but she refuses, reminding him that she's his monitor. A criminal named Keon attacks Gabimaru, and eventually, Gabimaru defeats Keon. His monitor, Kishu, beheads Keon, emphasizing that monitors must bring back criminals' heads if they die. Elsewhere, Tamiya and his monitor Fuchi encounter strange creatures on the island, including a butterfly with a human face that infects Tamiya. He chops off his hand to prevent the infection from spreading. Meanwhile, Gabimaru saves Sagiri during a monster attack, and Yuzuriha, another criminal, arrives with 2 monitors to offer help. It's revealed that she killed one criminal, so his monitor is also keeping an eye on her, but she believes the real danger on the island is not the monsters, but the bugs with human faces. In another part of the island, Tuma and his brother Chube, a criminal duo, fight monsters. Chube quickly adapts to the island's dangers and plans to kill everyone to secure the elixir of life so they can gain immortality. Sagiri wakes up and Genji tells her she was exposed to toxins. They have gathered a lot of information about the monsters and the island's environment, and they discuss their next steps. Genji asks Sagiri to return home to the Yamada clan and take her role as a woman while he takes her place. Senta warns that even if she leaves, she might not escape the island. Meanwhile, Tenza and Nurugai try to escape the island, but encounter monsters from wrecked boats that once attempted to flee. They fight the water demons and reach a boat, only to be pushed back to the island by the current. Genji again urges Sagiri to leave, and Gabimaru later shares a conversation with Sagiri where he tells her that he believes she is strong. The next morning, Sagiri declines Genji's offer to leave, which frustrates him. He criticizes her, but Sagiri asserts her right to choose her own path. Suddenly, Rokuruta appears and slices Genji in half before he can react. Gabimaru intervenes by kicking Rokuruta and confirms he's a criminal working for Lord Aizen. When Gabimaru asks Yuzuriha for help in battle, she refuses, stating her role is gathering intelligence. Despite using various ninjutsu techniques, Gabimaru fails to harm Rokuruta. Meanwhile, Genji, in his final moments, gives Sagiri his sword and reveals Aizen's death. Sagiri joins the fight, managing to cut Rokuruta's fingers. While fighting together, Rokuruta proves formidable, eventually smashing Gabimaru's face into the ground. Whereas Sagiri awakens to her true potential and narrowly misses beheading Rokuruta. Gabimaru then uses fire ninjutsu, forcing Rokuruta to bow his head. When Rokuruta attempts to attack Sagiri, Gabimaru intervenes and asks her to behead him. This time, Sagiri succeeds in decapitating Rokuruta. They soon come across a village on the island, which surprises them. Chubei and his brother come across a couple having an intimate scene. They wonder if they are monsters, and they suddenly transform and start attacking them. Meanwhile, Gabimaru discusses the importance of identifying friends and foes on the island when he spots a girl eavesdropping. While chasing her, they're attacked by a strange tree-like creature. Yuzuriha and Senta stay to fight it, while Gabimaru and Sagiri pursue the girl. After a brief confrontation where Gabimaru gets injured, they realize she's just a child, but she has powers. The bonsai monster offers to take them to a village with baths in exchange for the child. As they arrive at the deserted village, the monster, named Hoko, reveals its history and explains that the elixir of life exists in Harari, the center of Shinsenkyo. Meanwhile, Chubei and Tuma fight and are defeated by Tensen, immortal beings who turn humans into flowers to create Tan. Hoko tells them the elixir exists, and he reveals he and the girl, Mei, have lived on the island for centuries. Sagiri teaches Mei about bathing, while Gabimaru recalls memories of his wife. Sagiri notices Gabimaru's positive changes, though he remains focused on his mission. We see Tenza's troubled childhood, showing his survival through theft and killing. Later, while walking with Nurugai, they encounter Tensen, who appears first as a woman, then transforms into a man. After Tenza's failed attack and seeing Tensen's regenerative abilities, they attempt to flee, but are saved by Tenza's blind teacher, Shion. He initially threatens Nurugai after learning she's a criminal, but Tenza convinces him to spare her. Shion agrees, but warns he'll act if necessary. Tensen reappears, injuring Shion and severely wounding Tenza with 4 holes in his body. In his final moments, Tenza fights Tensen to buy time for Nurugai and Shion to escape. After Tenza's death, Shion tells Nurugai that Tenza was like a brother to him and vows they'll eventually defeat Tensen. On the other hand, Senta warns Gabimaru about entering the danger zone, but Gabimaru proceeds anyway. In the thick fog, he encounters a singing voice and finds a man-made door where he meets Tensen. They engage in battle, with Gabimaru discovering Tensen's regenerative abilities. Despite landing powerful hits, Gabimaru is overwhelmed when Tensen transforms into a huge flower. As Gabimaru nears death, he hallucinates about his wife. Using his training, he channels his life force for a final attack, but Mei saves him from the flower's last strike. Meanwhile, Sagiri's group, guided by Hoko, searches for Gabimaru and Mei. Hoko reveals that Tensen consists of 7 hermits who were once one god. He explains how the village's humans transformed into trees over 1,000 years ago. At the Tensen gathering, they discuss recent human encounters, with one of them claiming he disposed of some humans, and another one lies about killing Gabimaru. Gabimaru, now recovered, realizes he needs allies to defeat Tensen. Another criminal arrives there, leading to a duel between Gabimaru and Gantetsusai. However, Fuchi suggests they cooperate. Gabimaru proposes teaming up to fight Tensen, and while Fuchi is interested in the immortal beings, Gantetsusai joins for the chance at legendary status. Gabimaru is surprised when Mei appears as a woman instead of a child, and she can now speak. Meanwhile, Sento theorizes that this isn't the real Shinsenkyo, but a similar religious construct where only those who become flowers return. Mei describes the strange power called Tao as Tensen's strength and weakness, while Hoko explains it as a mysterious power flowing through everything. Simultaneously, Shion teaches Nurugai about sensing waves and sword fighting while battling monsters. Elsewhere, Chobei and Toma escape the pit, with Chobei determined to get revenge on Tenzin. They encounter a doshi who is basically a Tenzin servant. He asks them to return to the pit, but when they refuse, they start fighting and he calls more monsters. Despite Chobei's initial advantage, Doshi ultimately overpowers him, recognizing his exhaustion through his Tao flow. Doshi fights Chobei, who surprisingly regenerates after being injured. Chobei, having merged with plants, grows stronger in Tao power and manages to wound Doshi. Meanwhile, Toma worries about his brother's transformation. On the other hand, Gantetsusai and Gabimaru fight monsters, while Mei observes their Tao abilities. A monster recognizes Mei and reveals she was banished centuries ago. The monster explains that Mei was forced to be a trainer for Doshi, teaching them Tao through 5 steps, with sexual practice being the most crucial for balancing yin and yang energies. When the monster tries to take Mei, Gabimaru chooses to protect her. With Mei's guidance, Gabimaru learns to weaken his mind to see Tao clearly. This new ability allows him to sense everything around him and fight effectively against the monsters. The monster reveals that 3 doshi were sent to spy on humans, as Tenzin considered them a threat. Gabimaru and Gantetsusai work together to kill 1 doshi. As Sagiri's group reaches Harai, Hoko is suddenly decapitated by a Tenzin, Mudan, who reveals the island is actually a human experimentation site with no real elixir of life, only Tan that turns humans into trees. When Yuzuriha attacks Mudan, he regenerates and demonstrates his Tao powers. Sagiri learns from Hoko that Tenzin's weakness is their Tanden, also called the Energy Center. Through breathing exercises, Sagiri manifests a strong Tao and manages to cut Mudan's face. The group works together, and with Senta's help, Sagiri successfully strikes Mudan's Tanden. During a rest period, Senta confides in Sagiri about his suppressed artistic dreams and his admiration for Yuzuriha's free spirit. Meanwhile, Gabimaru, who can now sense Tao but hasn't mastered it, collapses with a nosebleed after asking Mei if she needs anything from him. The flower buds attack the group, turning Senta into a flower as he saves Yuzuriha. Mudan reappears in another form, but Shion arrives just in time to cut him down as he attacks the group. Shion saves Sagiri and Yuzuriha from Mudan's Kishikai form. While Nurugai tries to heal Senta, Shion engages in an intense battle with Kishikai. Despite landing attacks, Shion gets infected with flowers, but continues fighting, refusing to die. Nurugai helps restore Sagiri's stamina through positive Tao interaction. Together with Shion, they attack Kishikai's weak points. Before Shion's final attack, Senta reveals the flower monster's true weakness is the ovule. Shion defeats Mudan, but the area transforms into a flower bed, and Senta succumbs to his transformation. The group finds shelter to rest and share information. Shion warns about Tao's dangerous effects, including loss of consciousness, memory, physical changes, and possible death. Yuzuriha reveals the elixir of life doesn't exist and suggests that Gabimaru's wife might be an illusion used to control him, as she too is a ninja assassin. Meanwhile, Gabimaru awakens with memory loss and tries to get where he is, and Mei notices his brain has no Tao left. The story ends with Sagiri expressing concern for Gabimaru, whereas he tries recalling his past.